You are Locked On Hurricanes Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Miami on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Oh, baby, what a win for the Miami Hurricanes. Look, it should not have been that close. It should not have been. I should have some fingernails left and maybe some hair even on my head. But what a win for the Miami Hurricanes. 31-27, they defeat Ole Miss. And for the first time in 20-plus years, the Miami Hurricanes going to play for the national title, and they're going to do it old school style in Miami on the home field like they used to do in the Orange Bowl back in the day. Remember, they beat Oklahoma there for a national title, and it just seems like time and time again, Nebraska, the first one with Howard Schnellberger and Bernie Kosar. So 31-27, huge win for Miami. Jim Grieshaber, call me Grease. This is your Canes Postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Going to be joined by the one, the only Alex Donno in just a minute. A huge victory for the Miami Hurricanes. And how about this? I am just going to say this before I hit that element right now and really get the show cranking into high gear. Carson Beck got it done. I've said it all year. I've been really hard on this kid, and I've been hard on Dawson. More on that later. Really hard on Carson Beck, but I said to Alex Donno, you saw it today. If you watched the pre-show, I said he had it in him to make the big plays to win the game. And as he's missing deep ball after deep ball and then taking sack after sack, I started to wonder if he ever had it in him. But man, did he deliver late in his signature game as a Hurricane. And let's not forget, same guy who beat Notre Dame late in the game, and that win ended up keeping the Irish out and put us in. So take away Louisville and SMU. An immaculate year for Carson Beck, but he went from elite game manager to elite playmaker tonight, and that was something Alex and I talked about in the pre-show. It's Grease, it's the postcast. What a win for the Miami Hurricanes. We are live on YouTube on the #1 sports podcast network, and then after the show, we upload Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Stitcher, Podbean, and you down with OPP? Hell no. You see these whiskers? No, it's OTT. It's over-the-top television with Roku. It is your Canes postcast. We are just getting started. How about those big-time players making big-time plays in the big-time game?
This is what you'll be talking about.
We're talking about playing for a national championship, and with that, we're bringing in my boy and yours, the one, the only, Alex Donno, baby. We were texting the whole night, Alex, and, we did that pre-show. Early on, this looked like a complete domination for Miami. They could not touch our run game. They could not move the ball on us. They could not convert a third down. They had run 8 plays late in the second quarter, and they still hung around. Credit to Ole Miss, hanging around. They got the big run from Lacey, but early Miami dominating on the line of scrimmage, just the way they've done throughout this playoff run, Alex. It got hairy, it got dicey, it got close. The penalties were killing us again. Dropped interceptions. This could have been a blowout. Could have had 2 pick sixes. Missed deep balls early, but late in the game, when plays had to be made, it was that much maligned offense lifting the defense to a win for a change.
Man, I'm so happy. I was nearly in tears when that game ended. And even after Carson Beck scores the go-ahead touchdown, we still had to sweat out that final Ole Miss possession. Are they going to hit a Hail Mary? So the cardiac Canes in true fashion. And, Grease, it ended up being a super close game. And like you said, credit to Ole Miss. I mean, Ole Miss has been defying the odds all postseason long. I mean, their head coach left them high and dry right before the playoffs. He's trying to tamper with their roster. He's bringing assistant coaches with them. And when Ole Miss took their go-ahead touchdown and the 2-point conversion to go up 3, I mean, we were sweating. We had the heart palpitations. And, Miami's defense at that point, they were beat up. You had a bunch of guys who left the game injured. You had one of your starting corners was already injured. Your other starting corner gets kicked out of the game for what I thought was a bogus targeting call. So Miami's defense was basically being held together by duct tape, and you put the ball in the hands of your offense with just over 2 minutes. The last thing that I wanted, I mean, obviously anything's better than losing in regulation, but I did not want to go back to overtime in the desert. Like I didn't want to relive that Fiesta Bowl, the previous Fiesta Bowl experience.
And the Fiesta Bowl hasn't been great for us, man, over the years. The 86 title game, the bloodbath against Arizona and Ray Lewis's freshman year, the Ohio State game, 2 of those games in the national title game. But Alex, tonight, Carson Beck made sure that wasn't going to happen. In the face of relentless pressure, the offensive line let him down. Penalties, pre-snap penalties. Big boys got tired up front. Beck was running for his life the entire second half, and he comes out, Alex Donno, 15 plays, 75 yards, 2 minutes, 55 seconds, and he runs it in. His first rushing touchdown since the South Florida game. He runs it in. This is after he hits Malachi Toney for a touchdown in the fourth quarter. This is after big throw to Keelan Marion on that drive. And nice to see Marion have his best game as a Hurricane tonight with 7 catches for $114 and a touchdown. But Carson Beck late, not only does he run it in, Alex, but he engineers the drive. He hits the deep touchdown. Then he hits Toney for another touchdown. And then he runs it in to put the exclamation point on the victory. So what an ending. He's not done yet. Still got one more at home for Carson Beck. But for a guy who's taken so much heat all year long, and rightfully and deservedly so at times, man, did he come up big tonight when it mattered the absolute most.
And I love the way he's been running in the playoffs, Grease. I mean, we saw him, lower his head in the Ohio State game when he needed to pick up 12 yards on a third down, and he did it. And then this time around, like the awareness for him to see that he had all that space on the left side of the field and to be able to run in for that touchdown. Like I'm so happy for Carson Beck. I was listening to some of the, the post-game interviews that they were doing there in the stadium right after. And, some of Beck's teammates were talking about, hey, people said all this nonsense about Beck, but he's done all of his talking on the field. Like he's never come out in the media and defended himself or complained about, people dogging him and acting like he's not a good leader or not a good quarterback. And, to see him now 60 minutes away from a national championship and 11 days away from being able to play a national title game in your home stadium. I'm so happy for him. You mentioned Keelan Marion with the big game. Miami's ground attack, they did what they were supposed to do against that Ole Miss defense. Miami rushes for 191 yards.
They were
in this game.
Fletcher and Marty Brown were unbelievable, bro. Fletcher's a man possessed, best player on the field. And I look, I'm not going to be negative. I know there's some things to clean up. We'll get to that.
I mean, you can't be. Let's enjoy this moment. Like, don't let's enjoy this.
Plenty of time, Alex, for you all week long to get into what happened in the title game.
Right.
I want to talk about 28 first downs for Miami, 459 yards of offense, 191 on the ground, 41 minutes time of possession. And if it weren't for the 10 penalties for 74 yards, the 2 dropped pick sixes and 4 dropped interceptions, the penalties, the dropped interceptions, the lack of sacks and real quarterback pressures. Chambliss did a great job. Really impressed with him, his heart, his guts tonight. Look, Alex, that's a hell of a team, bro. I want to give props. Miss, they lose their coach. You mentioned it, but those kids, man, they have a lifetime of memories, and they're hanging their heads right now, but they can hold those heads high after the performance that they put on in these playoffs. But ever since, this is not the Ole Miss postcast, Alex, this is the CANES postcast. Ever since that loss, okay, you think of that loss to SMU, and you think of what they've done since then. 7 wins in a row, including at number 22 Pittsburgh, at Texas A&M on the road at the time. What were they, number 12 at the time? On the road. Then neutral site, Ohio State number 2, now neutral site, Ole Miss number 6. So none of those wins coming at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How battle-tested can you be when every game's been a playoff game since that second loss, and you've gone on the road and gone to neutral sites and beaten the teams you've beaten consecutively? This team has to feel pretty much like it's a team of destiny right about now.
Yeah, this team is so dialed in, and I want to, and let me turn the negatives from the game into a positive, because how good does it feel with all of the blown opportunities and all of some of these penalties were crappy officiating, and also some legitimate dumb penalties, and also crappy officiating, and you still win the game. Like, I mean, that to me, we know, I mean, Miami played probably their best football in the Ohio State game. We know that they're capable of doing that. So, I know whoever wins the other semifinal tomorrow is probably going to be a slight favorite against Miami, but I give the Hurricanes a chance to beat either of these teams, whether it's Indiana or whether it's Oregon. How fun would it be to play Oregon with all the Mario Cristobal storylines?
Believe that?
Yeah.
Never played them in a big game with as much success as the two programs have had. Indiana, too, though. Either one, it'll be a new opponent, a fresh opponent. And anything, it sounds silly to say it, Alex, but any thoughts of a letdown after that Ohio State game when you play a game like that against an opponent like that and you play the way they did? credit to the coaches for having them ready to play and coming out on fire. Ole Miss wins the snap. They think they're going to take the ball first, take control of the game, set the pace, set the flow. They want to run 90 plays on offense. We were the ones ran 88 plays on offense tonight, Alex, and so completely took the ball out of the hands of that high-powered offense all night long. And I thought Miami could have done a lot more and had a bigger lead and not made us sweat so much. But you mentioned it, the plays that were made to win the game. Malachi Toney with the plays that he made, turning and breaking tackles 3 times in this game where he catches the ball and he's short of a first down and he's breaking tackles to get there, or the way he followed his blockers through that seam on the touchdown from Beck, and Beck delivering the ball, distributing it to so many different guys. But Toney making the plays when he had to, Beck making the plays. I said it, Alex, in the intro. Big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. That's been a cornerstone for the Miami Hurricanes every time we've won. Tonight, no different. We're playing with freshmen out there, DBs, our corners are out. And I want to say one more thing to you because it didn't count. I thought the toe hit, by the way. I want to see more replays, and I don't think they should have overturned that. But that one-handed catch going back across his body by Malachi Toney running – are you kidding me? I mean, that's up there with Odell Beckham Jr., man, for the best catch of all time. And it didn't count.
And the other thing about Toney, he had so many big blocks in the run game.
He sure did.
A kid, I mean, he should still be in high. Like, I don't want to call him a kid because he's 18, he's a grown man, but he should still literally be in high school right now. He enrolled a year early. And I'll leave you with this because I got to run back to WQAM post game in a second. I just want to send Grease, like, obviously congratulations to Miami's team, coaches, players, everybody on down, but I want to congratulate you. I want to congratulate myself. I mean, we've been through so many tough years. We've been through so many disappointing seasons, and obviously there's still work to do. We got one more game to win, but to be at this point, to actually get to the national title game when a little over a month ago we weren't sure if we were even going to get into the playoff. I want to congratulate all the Miami fans, all the everydayers that are in the comments. Like,
the everydayer club.
Suffered. Yeah, I mean, three years ago this team goes 5-7. Like, we were, some years we're in purgatory, some years we're in hell, and now we're on our way to heaven in the national championship game. So I just want to send a huge shout out to all the Canes family and the Miami Hurricanes nation. We've been through a lot, and we deserve this. And you deserve it, Grease. I deserve it. We all deserve this, man. And thank you so much for the time here. And crush the rest of this postcast, man. I know you will.
And most importantly, they won when you were back on U.S. soil. You didn't have to fly back like we talked about yesterday.
If I was still in Italy, Miami would have won by 50. So, I mean.
50. But let me just say one thing before you go, Alex Donno. Be on QAM. Nobody bleeds orange and green like you do, bro. You have built this channel. I worked with you 100 years ago at 790 The Ticket. You were wearing Miami stuff every week then, and you're still wearing.
So were you.
Yeah, I mean, we had hair back then. It might be a little biased. We're looking now, but I just want to say what a joy it is to share this with you, but also
thank you
to be a part of this channel and to ride your coattails with all this audience that you've built on Locked On Canes. Man, it's a special ride, but we all of us in here, the everydayers, the newbies, everyone, myself, we owe this to you. So great job with the channel and keep it up, brother.
Well, thank you. God bless you, man. And thank you for all the hard work, and let's go Canes. We'll see you soon, Grease.
All right. Alex Donno, the man right there. That's the guy who built this channel. You know what I mean? Who I trust? Me. That's who put this thing together, huh? Me. That's who. Tony Montana. That's a terrible Tony Montana. I should be ashamed and embarrassed to that. But I'm not ashamed and embarrassed to be wearing my Devin Hester jersey, and I'm not ashamed and embarrassed to be a WVUM, University of Miami alum, and I am not ashamed and embarrassed because it's great to be a Miami Hurricane. We're going back to the chip. We pick up on that on the other side. We're going to give you the numbers from this game. We're going to take you through the drives, the plays. How about 2 13-play drives and 2 15-play drives for the Miami offense tonight? Would have loved to have seen them have a bigger lead and not make us sweat so much, man. But when they needed to, the offense won this game for them. We've been talking so much about the defense, won it for them against Texas A&M. We've been talking so much about the defense, won it for them against Ohio State. We've been talking so much, deservedly so, about that defense. And by the way, if Ruben Bain gets held one more time, you know what I mean? I mean, he could join a cuddle club and not get held as much as he did tonight. It was ridiculous, Ruben Bain. And then Mesidor too, and luckily he didn't get hurt with it. They fell on his arm. But What a win for Miami. We're going to give you the numbers. We're going to look ahead to the national championship game. Now, Indiana's unbelievable with Curt Cignetti, right? The former Alabama assistant, Mario Cristobal, the former Alabama assistant. Oregon's a really good team. That game, Oregon and Indiana, the first meeting between the two teams was 20-20 in the fourth quarter. Ended up being 30-20. Indiana on the road at Oregon. So tough to beat a team twice. But can you believe Miami's never played Oregon in a very meaningful game, given the success all these years of these programs? It never happened back when Oregon started getting good. It's happening maybe now. And then, of course, Indiana. Haven't played them in a big game either. That's a basketball school, man. That's Bobby Knight and Isaiah Thomas and Steve Alford. You know what I mean? That's what it is at Indiana. But, man, Cignetti and Mendoza, the Miami kid. So we'll have all eyes glued to that tomorrow night. Man, what a week. Mike McDaniel fired by the Dolphins, who finished up their season, and maybe now they get John Harbaugh. And I host the Dolphin Squad Show with Jeff Scanina and, of course, Kyle Krabs. And then here with Alex, Locked On Canes, and soon to be the Canes Squad Show. Man, oh, man, what a win. What a game. I have permission to go long tonight, man. I'll do this all night. Let's party, Miami. Let's party. University of Miami Hurricanes. The U, baby. The U is back in the chip at home at Hard Rock Stadium. A lot of history playing for titles and winning them in Miami for the Hurricanes. Can you imagine the stadium that night, the alumni there, the crowd? I've been in those environments, man, at the old Orange Bowl. Got to turn the Rock into the OB. So much still to come. Canes Postcast, Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Let's take a quick break and hook you up with some great deals from some great companies and then come back and wrap this thing up, baby. 31-27, Miami on the number one podcast network, the Locked On Podcast Network. This is your Canes Postcast. Rocket. Yeah. Yeah, man, unbelievable, right? And Malachi Tony looked like the Rocket Ishmael. Notre Dame, Notre Shame. How about that? Hey, let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming, almost like watching the fourth quarter of this game. Between subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month, it's easy to feel like you're losing control. And who has time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees anyway, right? Who has the time for that? Well, that is where Rocket Money comes in, the personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower bills so you can grow your savings. That's right. I was shocked when Rocket Money showed me I was paying for all kinds of things that I had completely forgotten about. These streaming services were literally killing me. It's already saved me so much money. It tracks them all. It lets me cancel them whenever I want. And I'll tell you what, the automatic transaction category, ho, baby, game changer. I can finally see where all my money's going each month. I don't like it any more than I did before, but at least now I can see it and possibly address it, set budgets and goals, get personalized insights, receive real-time alerts for large transactions, upcoming bills, and low balances. I hate to see that low balance, right? It even consolidates your checking, savings, loans, and investments into a single dashboard so you get a clear view of your entire financial picture. What does all this mean? What does it all mean? Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's Rocket. Yeah, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single solitary, beautiful national championship season day. Rocket, yeah, there you go. What a win for Miami. Jim Greashopper, call me Grease, Gries, at Jim Grease _ on social media. I love my life. I work for ESPN Radio doing talk shows. I work for this incredible network doing the Canes, doing the Dolphins, the Heat when we started, and some baseball stuff as well. And UFC, I'm at most of the big fights. I'm on live with millions of people after fights. And, man, nothing could beat this. This is my heart. This is my heart, man. I bleed orange and green. Class of 96, did my last 2 years there. First game I ever went to in the Orange Bowl, stood in line all day. Got the first seat in the student section for number 58 in the Orange Bowl when we set the record and beat Georgia Southern. Sat there and watched us lose to Washington, beat Florida State to get it back. Was in the house for the Orange Bowl that night with Sapp and Ray Lewis. Lost to Nebraska late in that game. But so many beautiful days and nights, old school at the Orange Bowl. We beat Nebraska for the title there. We beat Oklahoma for the title there. How many times did the University of Miami get a home game for the national title? And now for the first time in the playoff era, it happens again just as we come back. So 31-27, the final tonight. Your Miami Hurricanes big time win over Ole Miss, and the defense couldn't stop them late, guys, right? I mean, you're playing without your two corners, and I hope Frederic can come back. And the way that they threw Lucas out was horse crap with 8:54 left in the game, calling the targeting. They didn't throw their guy out. They threw ours out. He moved his head to the side, tried to avoid that hit. So Frederic, Lucas were out. True freshman playing there. Bryce tried to be a hero on the rushing touchdown. We dropped interceptions and pick sixes tonight. We dropped passes tonight. Beck missed all kinds of open guys tonight. I thought Dawson maybe called his best game of the season, even though that opening drive when we go right down the field and then you call the Malley Cat on 3rd and short and everybody knows what you're going to do. Not a fan of that at all. But man, oh man, did Malachi Toney, did Carson Beck, did CJ Daniels, did Mark Fletcher Jr., did Marty Brown, and Keelan Marion. Man, did they step up tonight. Man, did they make big play after big play. And for a team that's been carried by its defense, to have the offense come through the way that it did. All right, let's real quick talk to you about the end of that game, right? I mean, Carson Beck definitively leads them down the field. And you're talking about, Ole Miss and Miami scores a touchdown, right? It's unbelievable when you think about what happens here, right? Because Miami punts it to start the fourth quarter. You don't score in the third. You're up 17-13 at the half when you completely bludgeoned them and dominated them. I don't have time to get through all the halftime numbers, but let me just tell you, it was a bloodbath. It was a domination. Ole Miss had nothing going, ran no plays, had no yards, nothing. And Miami just dominating this game, right? Well, they hang around. They score on a field goal with 9-play drive, the last drive of the third quarter. And it's 17-16 Miami. You know what I mean? And it's unbelievable to start the fourth quarter. You're only up 1 and you've dominated this game, right? You're held scoreless in the third. Beck's getting sacked all over the place. You know what I mean? Then what happens, right? You're coming off the interception. They kick the field goal and you're only up 1. Fourth quarter starts. You go 5 plays and out. They get the ball back. They go 14 plays, 86 yards, kick a field goal. I mean, they scored. Ole Miss scored on their they missed that field goal that hit the upright. Otherwise, they scored. I mean, you got the field goal toward the end of the half. You got the field goal on that third quarter drive, that missed field goal as well. But man, just, so many great opportunities for that Ole Miss offense in the second half as our defense started to get tired, that frenetic pace, receivers running all over the place. And, we got a little tired on the line of scrimmage. It was a little different than Ohio State and Texas A&M. And, you look at the fourth quarter, they kicked that field goal with 5:19 left, 14 plays, 86 yards. They're up 19-17. First lead of the game for them. And you're like, oh my God, man, what is the deal here? What in the world is going on? And you're like, okay, man, what's going to happen here? And what happens there is some beautiful football. The last 2 drives of the game from Carson Beck. Remember, you're down 19-17, right? You get the kickoff. And man, oh man, you get the benefit of a couple pass interference calls. But Beck with a 36-yard touchdown pass and just a beautiful job by Malachi Toney on a bubble screen. Beautiful blocking, took it to the middle of the field from the left side, housed it. Malachi Toney with an unbelievable fourth quarter and a great, great game. Tonight, Fletcher had a 17-yard run on that drive, but you're talking 4 plays, 75 yards, and Miami retakes the lead at 24-19. Right there was a huge moment in the game because all the momentum was on their side. Everything going their way. All those inbred Hicks are screaming in the stadium with their powder blue on. I mean, what's worse than 80,000 inbred Hicks in powder blue? Are you kidding me? Screaming against you, right? So it's 24-19. Man, what did Carson Beck show you on that drive? The pass to Toney was behind the line of scrimmage, man. And it was a 4 pass. But what I'm saying is, it was Toney who did the work, but Beck who led the drive. So then Beck gets his confidence back. But what happens next? 6 plays, 75 yards. Ole Miss goes right down the field and scores, makes it 27-24. Then what happens next? Carson Beck, his definitive drive as a Miami Hurricane. 15 plays, 75 yards, 255 to take the lead late, and Ole Miss made it interesting, right? So they go incomplete on first down, 8 yards on second down on a pass to Keelan Marion that picked up 8. And it was right up against the sideline, a toe tapper, perfect throw from Beck, 4-yard run from Fletcher, then an incompletion and a 2-yard pass, and then a 15-yard penalty, a face mask on a big, big play on a 3rd and 8. And it was an obvious call. It was a pass interference or a face mask. So a couple of big plays where the refs actually called penalties on them, which tonight, it wasn't easy for them to do. Ruben Bain got held 100 times. They didn't call anything. So then you get the 4-yard pass to Daniels. Beautiful job by him to pick up the first down. And man, you just keep it moving. A 7-yard pass to Daniels. Incompletion, a 17-yard pass to Marion. And then you get the -1, the run by Beck where he missed the handoff with Marty Brown, miscommunication. And then Beck goes to Marion for 11 yards, right? And then a 5-yard run on 1st and goal from the 8 by Marty Brown. And then you're thinking, right, you got a timeout left. You can take a shot here. There's a bunch of things you can do. And Beck just, look, it's a slow developing play. He's looking, saw that lane open up on the left side. He runs it in from 3 yards out with 18 seconds left. And Ole Miss, in 2 plays in 13 seconds, got to within 35 yards and had a Hail Mary to win the game, where we could have been called for a pass interference on that last play, and they would have had 15 more, which would have put them at the 20. And, God, that would have been a disaster had we lost that game late. But, man, oh, man, did Carson Beck come through tonight for the Miami Hurricanes. Real quick, want to hit the individual stats and the team stats here for you as we continue with your Canes postcast on the #1 sports podcast network, the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jim Greasehaber, Call Me Grease, live on YouTube. After the YouTube, that's right after the game, by the way. And then we upload, you download Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, Podbean, and you download OPP. Hell no. OTT. It's Roku, right? So we're there on all those platforms. But anyway, man, I want to take a quick look at the individual stats before we hit the team, because Carson Beck got it done tonight in a big way. 23 of 37, 268, 2 touchdowns, and the pick. Mark Fletcher Jr., 22 for 133, 6 yards a carry. He averages 5.6 for the season. Eclipsed that tonight in the national semifinal, a week after he was the best player on the field against Ohio State, the school that he was originally going to go to. He was the best player on the field against Ole Miss, right? And Marty Brown, what a change of pace tonight, 14 for 54, and the touchdown for the former national champion, in his previous stop, obviously lower levels. And how about Keelan Marion? Man, what a game for him. 7 for 114 and a touchdown. Malachi Toney, 5 for 81 and a touchdown. The greatest catch you've never seen, but you saw it, but it wasn't a catch. Going back across his body, up against the sideline, still almost I thought he hit the toe down first. And man, you got to give that kid the catch on that one. The sacks, were big tonight for Ole Miss, but Beck with the toughness, man, and the runs that he's had in these playoffs have been phenomenal. Jacoby Thomas, defensive player of the game, 5 tackles, 2 passes defended. The injuries tonight, man, to Frederic and, the ejection of Lucas and just guys dropping all over the field. Moten on the first play of the game, giving them everything they got up front. And now you got to get healthy, man. You got 11 days to get healthy. Real quick, team stats. Man, it was dominant in the first half. Evened up in the second a lot more, but 28 first downs to 23, Miami to Ole Miss. Third downs, 11 for 19. They were 2 for 10. They were 0 for their first 7 on third down, Ole Miss. That was a huge, huge element in the game tonight. For Miami, on fourth down, we were 2 for 2. They didn't have an opportunity. Total yards, 459 to 398, right? And then passing, 268 for us, 277 for them. Yards per pass, 7.2 for us, 7.1 for them. 1 interception for us, none thrown by Shamlis, the Division II quarterback a year ago while Beck was at Georgia. Almost unbelievable, his story, when you think about it. Rushing yards, 191 to 121. 70-plus of theirs came on 1 touchdown run by Kewan Lacey, who was banged up tonight. And that was just a bad play by the defense, a couple of missed assignments there, and, some things that kept it close tonight. But give them credit, man. Ole Miss is a really, really good team, and this is an all-time classic college football playoff game you're going to be seeing for years. We didn't get the turnover tonight, although we dropped a bunch of interceptions. I mean, we had a bunch of interceptions lined up, pick sixes, and they just didn't come to fruition for us tonight, and it would have been a big, big difference in this game. Could have easily been a big-time blowout. And then the time of possession, 41-22 to 18-38, man. That's the biggest indicator of a dominating performance and an ass whooping by the Miami Hurricanes. Going to head back home, Hard Rock. So think about this path, right? You lose the games against Louisville and SMU, right? I just want to go on a little bit of a rant here, and I'm a talk show guy to begin with and a play-by-play guy, so I'm just going to let it rip right here, guys. Think about this, right? Regular season opens up, you beat Notre Dame. Beck, the late touchdown pass to C.J. Daniels. Tonight was his best moment of the season. Before that, it was Notre Dame in week 1. Kill Bethune-Cookman, crush South Florida, ranked in the top 20 at the time, destroy the Florida Gators, beat Florida State on the road. Then you lose to Louisville. You beat Stanford by 35, and then you lose to SMU. You dominated the SMU game, 26-20. You lose in overtime. You're about to score in overtime. Beck throws the pick. I mean, that was disaster, right? when you're dominating that game. And tonight's game looked a lot like that SMU game. Let them hang. And then SMU ended up winning, but Ole Miss didn't tonight. That SMU game really toughened them up, right? So you lose 2 out of 3. And after that SMU game, and you look back on that SMU game, right, that overtime win for the Mustangs in which they scored 19 points in the second half and overtime to beat us, and that was back on November 1st, right? But you go after that game, okay, and you look at what this team has done. And I've been critical. You guys have given me all kinds of crap in the chat for being as critical as I've been on Dawson, as critical as I've been on Mario, who called another bad timeout tonight, by the way, and the team melted down with penalties. I'm not letting them off the hook completely. We will talk more in the days to come about what needs to be cleaned up by this team. And I'm not going there tonight after this win. I'm going to give you guys this night to celebrate, myself too, because we're going to the chips. So the hell with everything else. You know what I'm saying? But next week out, you beat Syracuse 38-10. Not a super convincing win. Thought it could have been better, but you start to get that momentum rolling, right? Then you beat NC State, right? 41-7, final home game of the season. And then you go on the road, or so you thought, final home game of the season, right? Even though the bowl game, the championship game is not technically a whole game. So you leave Miami, you go to Virginia Tech, always a tough place to play for the Hurricanes. You destroy the Hokies, 34-17, you double them up. Then it's number 22 Pittsburgh. Without that win, you don't get in. And that win against the top 25 team move them up in the rankings enough to put them within 3 spots of Notre Dame, which is the dumbest shit I've ever heard, that they wouldn't compare head-to-head unless you're 3 spots apart. But I digress. They did. They got it. Notre Dame was out because of that win at Pittsburgh on the road, 38-7, and I thought that win is what really started to propel this team. Dominating a team like that, a good team on the road, and then the playoffs start. You come back on Texas A&M in the fourth quarter. Defensive, as Jim Ross would say, a slobber knocker, right? And then Ohio State, 24-14. You pound the defending champs into submission. Feeling so good about that win. No letdown against Ole Miss. You come out and dominate early. You win 31-27. So every game you're scoring more points. Every game gets better. 7 wins in a row. You go to Pitt. You go to Texas A&M. So you go number 22, right, to number 7, to number 2, to number 6. 22-7, 2-6. All of them away from home. The first 2 on the road in 2 very tough places to play, especially Texas A&M. Are you kidding me? The 12th man, 100,000+ people in there. And then Ohio State in Dallas, Ole Miss in Glendale, Arizona, 2 beautiful stadiums, 2 incredible cities. And now we go back home to play for the chip. And I just can't stop thinking about what Carson Beck just did, man. He's 37-5 as a starter. You know, obviously 2 years at Georgia, but he was part of national championship teams, and just to get that run late from him, best feeling I ever had in my life is what Beck said about that touchdown. The greatest feeling he's ever had in his life, and there's a lot of people right there with him. You know, he won a national title as a backup at Georgia. Now he has a chance to do one as a starter at Miami a year ago. He couldn't move his arm. His dreams were up in smoke. He thought he would have been a first-round draft pick this past year. All season long, idiots like me have been giving him all kinds of heat. Is he ever going to make a play downfield? But I will tell you this. It was earned, and he would tell you that. But I'll tell you this right now, ladies and gentlemen, Hurricanes of all ages, I will tell you this. Go back and watch my show with Alex from yesterday, the preview show, and you'll see it. You'll see it. I said, I believe Carson Beck has it in him. This is almost verbatim. I said, Alex, it's going to come down to Carson Beck making plays, and I believe he's going to make them. I swear to God, on all my kids' lives, may they just eviscerate into smoke and go straight down to hell if I'm lying with them. That's how much I believe in what I said in that pregame show, and I believed that Beck would come through, and he did with big plays in the fourth quarter. The touchdown passes in the just unbelievable, right? By Carson Beck, just an incredible job. Malachi Toney with an enormous performance tonight. I also said with Alex, they need to figure out ways, big plays for him. Dawson was able to do that tonight. I love that it was more in the passing game than it had been, and man, oh man. I mean, you're looking at that Fiesta Bowl, even though they changed stadiums from Sun Devil to whatever it is, the Cardinal Stadium. I'm not telling you what sponsor it is. Who cares? They're not paying us. But my point is, it looked like the bad luck for Miami, and you beat UCLA there years ago with Jimmy, but you lost to Penn State in the title game with Vinny Testaverde after the moped accident, throwing all the interceptions, including the one to Pete Giftopoulos inside the 10-yard line, very late to give that child-molesting Jerry Sandusky and Joe Paterno a national title. And then against Ohio State in that 02-03 game, the fake pass interference, I was on the field. I was working in South Florida radio at the time. I'm on the field ready to run to Larry Coker with my mic. Andre Johnson races by me, opening a bag of Tostitos, almost takes my head off with a shoe this big, buzzing by my face. and flag on the play an hour after the play. And oh man, you guys know how that worked out. So the Fiesta Bowl had been a house of horrors for the Hurricanes. Looked like it moved stadiums, and it's our first one in the Fiesta Bowl since they did that. And it looked like it had just transferred. Carson Beck made sure there was never going to be any doubt. 2001 team beat Nebraska in the Rose Bowl, one of the greatest nights of my life. If you look behind me on my wall, you can't really see it, but that's a photo collage of me right there from that night in the stadium when I went over in an RV with 6 Nebraska Cornhuskers. When I was doing morning radio in Phoenix, I was the only Hurricane fan in the RV. I had to drive back the whole time and not say a word. I was up in the front like this, just smiling. One of the greatest nights of my life. And now we get a chance, and I'm just happy for you young guys and girls and young fans that you get a chance to do and to live what we've all lived. I was 12 years old when Bernie beat the Cornhuskers, right? And Tom Osborne goes for 2 and the Orange Bowl. You know what I mean? Howard Schnellenberger, the state of Miami, and then Jimmy comes in and that great run with guys like Irvin and everybody coming through, right? And then into the Erickson era when Jimmy leaves and goes to Dallas and Dennis wins a couple and you get more great players coming through there. And that's when I went to school there. And then you hit the skids and then Butch brings it back. And Larry Coker, the luckiest guy who's ever lived, inherits that team and wins the national championship. And I love Larry Coker. I produced the Butch Davis show. I've produced the Randy Shannon show. I've been around the university a lot. Larry Coker's a great dude, but he was one of the luckiest coaches of all time, right? So now the 2001 team gets that done. If it weren't for the loss against Washington to open up that first season in 2000, if it weren't for that loss against Ohio State to end that 2002 season, you're looking at 3 straight undefeated seasons, national championships, which would beat anything Nick Saban ever did at Alabama. So I'm still a little salty about that. But then to top it off, you go 20, almost 25 years before you get back there. So congratulations to all you young fans. Get an opportunity to live this, experience this, a national title game at home. Get your ass there, whatever you have to do. Get your tickets, get in that stadium. It'll be one of the greatest experiences of your entire life. Trust me, I've been there numerous times. So I really just, I can't emphasize enough how much you need to get your butt in that stadium. All right, man, 15 plays, 75 yards, 255. Carson Beck takes him down the field, runs it in from 3 yards out to win the game. Big performance in the fourth quarter from Beck. Flawless almost on that last drive. Made all the big throws he needed to make, putting the ball in small windows. Yeah, he missed some big throws early, took some sacks in the game, was running for his life. He has heart, he has guts. When you're getting hit like that and you're getting sacked like that, and you've had 2 games earlier this season where you've lost by throwing picks in those exact same scenarios, how about Carson Beck? Against Notre Dame, he brings us down the field, wins the game. Game 1. Tonight, same thing against Ole Miss, against Texas A&M. So we got a battle-tested quarterback. We got the most battle-tested quarterback in the tournament. And now that quarterback who went from gunslinger and playmaker, throwing balls all over the place, to elite game manager, win streak, 6 in a row. Now all of a sudden, he's not only just the elite game manager, he's the elite playmaker. Still missed a bunch of deep balls tonight, but man, they took those shots. Props to Dawson for doing it, right? Needed to do it. Love the aggressiveness. And late in the first half, by the way, Saban ripped them, but when they came out and got sacked on first down, let them take their timeouts and they kicked the field goal. If we'd have lost the game, it'd have haunted us. But I love that they were going deep on that first down there, even though they took a sack, that last drive of the second quarter. So I have no complaints about Dawson. I have no complaints about Beck. I have no complaints about Mario or anybody right now. It's not the time. It is time to celebrate in the MIAO because the Canes are coming home to play for the chip, baby. Number 6, and there should be so many more, but number 6 on the way, man, incoming. And, you're looking at Indiana, you're looking at Oregon, they're coming to Miami. That's going to be a tough matchup for either one of those teams. If it's Indiana, it's going to be very similar to the Ohio State game, although a better quarterback, the Heisman winner in Mendoza, a very similar defense, Indiana and Ohio State. Running game pretty good too, but more similar to Ohio State than anybody else who played. Oregon, of course, you know what I mean? They love to spread it all over the field. It's going to be Ole Miss part 2, a lot of receivers running routes all over the field. And you'd have to think, at least right now, the way that those matchups play out or look on paper, that it would be more favorable for Miami to play Indiana for the style of matchup than Oregon. But, I mean, really, who cares at this point? You've beaten every type of team. and we'll see what happens there. All right, just about done with this edition of your Canes Postcast. I got permission from the bosses to go long tonight. Alex doesn't go live after the games, and so it's just me tonight, thanks to the great Alex Donno. So make sure you keep watching and downloading and listening to Locked On Canes, the number 11 channel on this number 1 ranked podcast network in the world. We have the number 11 channel. Our shows do huge numbers, so thanks to you everydayers. You know, the Everydayer Club's a huge part of what we do on this network, so make sure you check that out as well, because it is absolutely awesome to be a part of this network, of this channel, to work with Alex, and then for that matter, on Locked On Dolphins, to work with Kyle Krabs, who's great like Alex, and then Jeff Scanina, the former Dolphin. And by the way, Alex and I are going to get this Hurricane Squad show started soon. Put it in the comments. Who do you guys want to see? You want the playmaker, Michael Irvin? We have a former player as a host. Notre Dame has Reggie Brooks and Alan Pinkett. We're going big. We want Ray Lewis, Michael and Ray Irvin. Love Ray Irvin. Michael Irvin and Ray Lewis, you start aiming high, but we're going to have that show launching here soon for you on the Locked On Podcast Network. You let them hang. You overcame your mistakes, but big-time players, big-time plays, in big-time games. That was a Dennis Erickson mantra, but it is true tonight. And man, oh man, like Stephen A. Smith said on First Take yesterday, college football is better. The sports world is better when the Miami Hurricanes are at the top of college football. It just is, right? If Notre Dame were there and Texas were there, instead of those two crappy teams that made it, Tulane and whoever else it was, Jacksonville, whatever. But man, it's unbelievable to have beaten Notre Dame, Florida State, USF, all the Florida teams this year, right? You didn't win the ACC, but who cares about the ACC? You've gone to Texas and beaten Texas A&M. You've beaten Ohio State. You beat Notre Dame and Ohio State in the same year. I have 3 favorite teams: Miami, whoever's playing Notre Dame, and whoever's playing Ohio State. We beat them both this year. And now we're playing for the title at home. And what really turned my attitude around this week is I started thinking about it now in this modern era when you don't have to be undefeated. If we'd missed the playoffs, it would have been a disaster. Can you imagine missing out on this run because of those 2 crappy losses? No, right? Don't even want to mention that now. But this is what makes it amazing now in the playoff era. Which NFL team ever in history went undefeated? 1. It'll never happen now. The 72 Dolphins, the Patriots had the best chance. They lost to the Giants in the Super Bowl. Never going to happen, right? The 85 Bears, Marino beat them in the OB, and then the Patriots with Brady, they lose in the Super Bowl to the Giants. And when I think about how hard it is to go undefeated, right? Anywhere for anything, Indiana has a chance to do it. They win, they're wire to wire, right? But when I think about going wire to wire undefeated, that's not going to happen all that much in college football anymore. And when I look at that and I think about it, hey, couple losses, you still win a chip, no big deal. That's NFL teams every year. You get hot late, and I think that's really awesome. But one more thing I want to add, and obviously Notre Dame's out, Ohio State's out. We beat both of them, but one more thing I want to add. Not only did we beat Notre Dame, not only did we beat Ohio State, we just eliminated the MFing SEC. We eliminated the last SEC team standing. So all the inbred hicks from all those states with all those inbred teams, I'm just kidding, loosely, they're home. The great and mighty SEC. We're better than everyone. We deserve more teams. Blah, 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 blah. Suck it. You got nobody left. Nobody left. The SEC out. See ya. Oh, man, is that sweet or what? Let's take a peek real quick at some of these things that we do for you on every show. Look at Malachi Toney. Man, that catch on the sideline that they overturned was unbelievable. But the touchdown late, obviously big plays tonight to pick up first downs, breaking tackles. Incredible blocking by Malachi Toney in the run game. And let's not forget, this kid should still be in freaking high school. Absolutely unbelievable what he's done this season as a true freshman for the Miami Hurricanes. And then we keep it going with your turning point. This is the moment. Look at Carson Beck right there. 75-yard drive to win the game for the Miami Hurricanes with a 3-yard touchdown run to win the game for the Miami Hurricanes. Had the touchdown pass to Toney to win the game for the Miami Hurricanes. Had the TD pass to the elite Keelan Marion, who was magnificent tonight. And with that, we go to the stars of the game. And I am literally making sure I do this in the right order. Star number 1 for Miami, because it's great to be a CANES Cane. How about Mark Fletcher Jr. from Fort Lauderdale? Flip from Ohio State to the Canes. And oh, man, huge in these playoffs. Best player on the team. Mark Fletcher Jr., in my mind, 22 carries, 133 yards, 6 yards a carry. Did not find the end zone for the second consecutive week. Ironically, seems like he scored every game in his career. His last 2 games have been magnificent. Hasn't found the end zone. But Marty Brown did. 14 carries, 54 yards for Sharmar Brown with the touchdown, and that was huge for Miami as well. So a co-star of the game for Fletcher Jr. with Marty Brown for the first one. The second star of the game is, look at my man, Keelan Marion. You want to double team Malachi Toney? Hey, decoy, right? Boom. Keelan Marion steps up huge tonight. 7 for 114. And a touchdown for Keelan Marion. I mean, that is unbelievable, right? The bomb touchdown. And then you know what? He had a huge game, but on that final drive, right, he had the 11-yard catch. He had the 17-yard catch on that final drive. It wasn't just something where Tony's double covered and he was wide open. On that final drive, he was the guy, the senior from Atlanta, Georgia. He stepped up huge in that game tonight. I mean, he played at UConn for 2 years. I'm from Connecticut. You know what I mean? He played for the UConn Huskies, and he played at BYU for 2 years. And now look at him at the U in the biggest game of his life, playing the best game of his life in Keelan Marion, our second star of the game. And then one more star of the game, and you know who it is, don't you? Boom, right there. Carson Beck. Unbelievable performance tonight for Carson Beck, the senior. All those career starts, the 2 times backing up, Stetson Bennett at Georgia with the chips, and obviously takes over as a 2-year starter there, and the injury last year, just not playing in the playoffs, and then it just was brutal on him. Comes here up and down and down and up, and getting criticized and ridiculed, and man, did he come through big time tonight. 4 plays, 75 yards, 15 plays, 75 yards to win the game with 2 touchdowns on the final 2 drives of the night for Miami. And of course, Beck, when you look at his numbers, he had a little bit of a lull in the game tonight, obviously, you know what I mean? But when the plays needed to be made at the end, I mean, he had a pass rush in his face all night, but 23 of 37, 268, 2 touchdowns, and the pick in the passing game. And by the way, the pick was batted up into the air at the line of scrimmage on Beck. And then rushing wise, Beck had 12 carries for -6. The -6 is because of all the sacks. But, man, he actually ran for a lot of positive yardage tonight, almost picked up another John Elway-like first down, ended up a yard short on a run, sacrificing his body, selling out to pick it up, and ended up running it in from 3 yards out to win the game. His first rushing touchdown since the South Florida game all the way back in September. So Carson Beck, our third player of the game. And let's throw it up there one more time. Malachi Toney to the house, baby. Heezy for sheezy. 31-27. The SEC is out. The SEC is out. The SEC is out. The Canes are back in. Can you imagine? I mean, it's the dumbest thing we ever did was join the ACC, because now they're going to take credit for a national championship that they have nothing to do with, the ACC. You know what I mean? We don't care about the ACC. We'd love to win the ACC just because we want to go undefeated every year. But had we been undefeated and been a 1 or 2 seed coming in and made the title game, we'd still be in the exact same position we are now. So really, those 2 losses mean nothing. The regular season losses. In fact, without those, you could argue that they wouldn't have won these games, because like Keontae Scott said this week to the media in Arizona before the game, he said, he didn't say yo. He said, we got knocked off our chair. We got our chair knocked out from under us, is what he said. We got our chair knocked out from under us with those 2 losses. They refocused. They got tough mentally. And this does have Mario Cristobal all over it, man. The recruiting, second to none, the whole entire staff. The mindset of toughness, the domination at the line of scrimmage, you can't take that away from what Mario's instilled and built back into this program. The in-game management at times still leaves me, pulling my beard hairs out because I got nothing left up here. There are times when he becomes a liability in-game at times, but, man, you cannot deny the man's toughness, his will, what he's created as a culture, as a standard here. And I just want to say that about Mario Cristobal, because the guy has, and I know Mario. When he was the coach at FIU, I was the halftime guy and the pregame guy on the radio broadcast. So, and when he's coached here, I've been, so when I talk to you about Mario or Dawson or Beck, or say the things I say that sometimes are negative, that's just my honest breakdown, my honest assessment of what I think and what I see. And what I see right now is an incredibly tough team that has taken on the personality of its head coach, and look, 10 penalties, silly mistakes, those things kill you. That's coaching in a lot of ways, but he's not the one committing the penalties, right? But still, clean that up, clean up the penalties. I love the way Dawson, what he did tonight? He and how cool is it that he and Golding are both from Mississippi, and they both coached against each other at smaller schools on the way up, and then they're squaring off offensive coordinator against head coach / defensive coordinator in a national semifinal. Dawson gets the best of him like he did Patricia. The arrogance of Patricia to not make adjustments against Dawson in the offense of Miami last week really cost Ohio State, and Dawson out-coached him. So everything clicking for Miami. You'd love to see them put it away. I mean, that's one thing, right? You get a lead, you're dominating games, which they're doing. This game should have been a blowout. It should have been. Now, before you say Grease, I know you couldn't let the whole show go without going there. It should have been a blowout. I know you know this and you agree with me there. But a win is a win is a win. Touchdowns on the last 2 drives. Beck pulls it out, bails out the defense when they pretty much won those first 2 games for him on D, right? The pick 6 against Ohio State. And, of course, the A&M game holding them to 3 points on the road. And Ohio State to 14 for that matter. So it's going to be Indiana next. It's going to be Oregon next. One of the 2. That game's tomorrow night at the Peach Bowl in Hotlanta in the ATL. And we will see which team. Will it be that ground and pound with Mendoza, the efficiency at quarterback for Indiana, and Cignetti with that defense? Or will it be Oregon and that hectic pace on offense? And look, it's hard to beat a team twice in 1 year. And Oregon and Indiana played already with Indiana 10-point win, 2020 game at Oregon earlier in the season. So we'll see. And then, of course, you got the NFL playoffs, 2 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, 1 on Monday. So what a weekend for the football fanatics. We will have the Dolphins squad show Monday and Wednesday next week. And, of course, right after that national championship game, I'll be here live with your postcast on Locked On Canes, and I'll be on with Alex to preview the game during the week on the Locked On Canes channel. Make sure you keep coming back every day and watching Alex on YouTube and Roku. Also, downloading and listening, Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, Podbean. Make sure you check us out on social media, Locked On Canes, myself at @JimGrease_. And man, oh man, make sure you just enjoy this ride. For those of you who had forgotten what it was like, congratulations. For those of you who have never really experienced this, congratulations. And for those of you who can't get enough of it, like me, and 20 plus years later, you still feel the same as you always have when this goes down. Congratulations to you too. Thank you to the everydayers. Thank you to you newbies. Thank you to Alex Donno for building this channel, and for all of you for being here tonight for your Canes postcast. Make sure you subscribe and follow your Locked On Canes podcast so you get all the episodes and, Locked On Canes on social media. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Canes ad-free plus members-only Discord access and more. And man, oh man, that is awesome for you everydayers, and you join the Everydayer Club as well. All right, that's going to do it for me. I got the permission. I went super long tonight. Thank you so much to our sponsors as well for an unbelievable night and supporting us and helping us become the #1 podcast network in the world. It's because of shows like this and nights like this and the work that guys like Alex Donno have put in for so many years. And for all you alums out there like me, a special shout out to you as well. We're more than back, baby. We're going home, and we are playing for the chip in our house on January 19th, 2 days after my birthday, by the way. Goat season, Capricorn, all the way, baby. Let's go Canes, all the way to the chip. 31-27, the final. Carson Beck, the game-winning drive and a 3-yard touchdown to pull it out. Thanks to Alex for popping on this show with me, and thanks to all of you for being here. What a night for Miami Hurricane football fans and for Mario Cristobal and the Miami Hurricanes. 31-27, the final. Keep your game tight and your mind right, Miami. Thank you for watching your Canes postcast on the #1 sports podcast network, the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And one more thing I want to say. It's great to be a Miami Hurricane